Good evening, and welcome to Nox Historia. Tonight, we travel to the world of Chola Thanjavur. Settle first. Nothing to carry tonight, nowhere you have to be. Let the mattress take the whole weight of you. Your jaw can hang loose. Your shoulders can slide down, away from your ears. And the breath going out can run a little longer than the breath coming in without you doing anything about it. That is the only work of the evening, and you have already begun it. We are going to a single evening in the year 1010 in the rice country of the Kaveri Delta in the Tamil south of India. The town is Thanjavur. The king is Rajaraja the First. He came to the throne in 985, so he has held it for 25 years now, and he will live 4 more. This year, this very year, the thing he will be remembered for has been finished, a temple called Rajarajeshvaram. Later people will call it the Brihadeshvara temple. The town simply calls it the Big Temple. Its tower is the tallest thing anyone in this delta has ever seen. The temple also did something unusual. It kept its accounts on itself. Scholars write chronicles afterwards, and poets write praise. This is neither. This is an itemized record cut into the granite of the temple's own walls, listing who worked there and what each of them was paid. 400 dancing women, named one by one, each with the temple she came from and the house she was given. Musicians, singers of hymns, accountants, lamplighters, potters, goldsmiths, watchmen, a barber, a man who looked after the drums, each with a stated annual allowance of paddy. As a picture of a working economy, there is almost nothing in the medieval world to match it for detail, and it survived because somebody decided the safest place to keep a ledger was the side of a building made of stone. 900 years of weather, and you can still read the wages. You do not need to remember any of this. If you happen to fall asleep, that is exactly what this is for. So, let us go there. We come in along a raised path between the fields in the last hour of the afternoon. The land here is flat and green all the way out to wherever your eye gives up. This is the delta of the Kaveri, and the whole of it is rice. The paddy stands in still mirrored squares, each held by a low bund of packed earth, each a slightly different green, depending on how long ago it was planted. The light is going amber and long, and the flooded fields hold it and hand it back, so the ground seems to glow upward the way water does at the end of a warm day. Egrets stand about in the shallows with the patience of furniture. A line of coconut palms somewhere ahead marks a village. The air smells of wet earth and wood smoke, and under that of jasmine. None of it is accidental. This delta is farmed like a machine is run. The Kaveri comes down from the western hills and is divided and divided again into a fan of channels that fills the whole plain, and it has been managed this way for a long time. Far upriver, there is a low, broad barrier of stone laid across the river, the Kalanai, the Grand Anacut, attributed to an early Chola king, Karikalan, perhaps 800 years before tonight. Something like a version of it still working today, which makes it one of the oldest water-diverting structures on Earth, still doing its job. Underneath that scale sits a smaller one, and the smaller one is where the water is really governed. Village tanks, sluice gates of dressed stone, cut to a measured height so that only so much and no more can pass. The An assemblies keep committees for it,
one for the tank, one for the garden land, one for the year's accounts. Water here is not weather, it is administration.
Then the palms open out, and there it is, above the low green line of the town, a tower, a vimana, rising in stacked, tapering stories to about 66 meters, 216 feet, finished at the summit with a great domed crown of stone. It is enormous, and it is calm, pale gray going gold in the low sun, and it stands alone above a landscape with nothing else in it taller than a coconut palm. There is no granite in this delta, none at all. The soil goes down and is nothing but river silt. Every block in that tower, something on the order of 130,000 tons of stone, was quarried far up country and brought here across flat, soft, cultivated ground. The crowning stone at the top was long described as a single block of 80 tons, though careful survey suggests it is assembled from more than one piece, which only makes the lifting of it more interesting. And know, before anyone tells you otherwise, the tower casts a shadow at noon, a short one, falling inside the temple's own courtyard, which is how the story got started. We reach the town as the lamps are going on. Thanjavur is arranged around the temple the way a town arranges itself around its largest employer, which is exactly what the temple is. The streets run in rings and lines, each with its own trade, a street of oil pressers, a street of weavers, a street of garland-makers stringing jasmine and oleander onto plantain fibre. 2 whole streets belong to the temple's dancers and were built for them. The houses are low, with thick mud and brick walls and roofs of thatch or curved tile, and a raised veranda along the street front where people sit in the evening because it is cooler out than in. At each threshold there is a kolam, drawn that morning in rice flour, a lattice of dots and looping lines, made freehand, walked over all day, made again tomorrow. From somewhere inside the temple enclosure comes singing. 48 men are employed here to sing the Tevaram, the old Tamil hymns to Shiva, composed 3 centuries before tonight by poets who wandered from shrine to shrine. Their allowances are listed with everyone else's. Devotion here has a payroll line. Come away from the temple wall now, into the merchants' quarter, the Nagaram. It is closing rather than trading. Cloth is being folded, cotton in bolts, the everyday wealth of this coast, and some silk. Sacks are being tied on the sesame oil, the tamarind, the areca nut, the black pepper. The pepper matters. Pepper is the reason ships come. Notice what is missing from all of it. There is no chili here, not one, and not for another 500 years, because the chili is on the other side of the world in the Americas and will not arrive until the 15th century. Every bit of heat in this kitchen and every kitchen in this town comes from black pepper, from ginger, from mustard seed. The merchants themselves belong to guilds with names and constitutions, the Ainuruvar, the 500 of Ayavolu, the Manigramam, the Nanadesi, whose name simply means the many countries. They travel in convoy, they lend, and they endow temples. 4 years ago, the king granted the revenue of a whole village to a Buddhist monastery on the coast at Nagapattinam, built with money from a king in Southeast Asia. We know because the grant was written on copper plates strung on a ring, and those plates are sitting in a museum in Leiden, in the Netherlands, tonight. Our host turns off the lane, and we follow her through a low doorway into a house built around a small open courtyard. This is the shape of a South Indian home, and will be for 1,000 years. Rooms on the sides, sky in the middle.
The floor is smoothed earth, swept and washed with a thin cow dung wash that dries hard and clean and keeps the dust down. In one corner of the courtyard, a raised brick platform holds a tulsi plant. Grain stands in tall clay jars along one wall. There are almost no chairs because nobody here sits on chairs. There are mats, a low wooden plank or two, and a swinging bench hung on chains from the beam. Above, the open square of sky is doing what it does at this hour, going from white to apricot to a very deep, clear blue, quickly, without much fuss. The kitchen is at the back, and it is the warm room. A clay hearth, a low fire of coconut shell and dried palm frond, and a heavy-bottomed pot of rice already sitting over it. This is a rice house in a rice country, where rice is the wage, the tax, the offering, and the meal all at once. Beside the fire is the grinding stone, and beside that the stone mortar. Hanging in the smoke is a string of drying chilies. No, not chilies, peppercorns and small hard nuts of tamarind and a bundle of curry leaves. Somebody is tempering mustard seed in sesame oil, and that smell, oil hot enough that the seeds begin to move, is the smell of a South Indian evening and has been for a very long time. In the coolest corner, a part of curd set that morning in clay is thickening quietly. Supper is served on a banana leaf, laid green side up, eaten with the right hand, sitting on the floor. Rice in the middle, a small hill of it. Around it, in an order everyone knows without being told, a lentil dish, a vegetable, something with tamarind in it, something with pepper in it, a spoonful of ghee poured over the rice at the start, and curd at the end, because curd is how a meal here is closed. There is a plantain. There is no potato, no tomato, no cashew, no coffee, all of those being centuries away, and yet if you sat down to this leaf tomorrow in the same town, you would recognize 9/10 of it. Afterwards the leaf is folded away and the floor is wiped, and somebody passes round betel leaf with areca nut and a smear of lime, which is what this world does instead of a digestif. A lamp is lit. It is a shallow dish of bronze or clay with a lip on one side, filled with sesame oil, a twist of cotton laid in it so the flame sits at the rim, set in a niche or on a low stand. The courtyard immediately becomes smaller and softer, the way a room does when the light stops coming from the sky and starts coming from one point inside it. This happens at dusk every day of every year in every house in this town, and it is the hinge of the day. Before the lamp, work. After the lamp, this. Somebody sings a little, unaccompanied, the way you sing when nobody is meant to be listening. Somebody else is not listening and is picking through a basket of rice for grit. In the next street there is still light and someone still working, and it is worth stepping for. One of the great crafts of the human record is happening quietly in a shed. A bronze caster is making an image. He begins in wax, beeswax mixed with tree resin and a little oil, and he does not carve the god, he sculpts him, warm and soft in the round, with the full modeling of the body, the weight on one hip, the lift of a hand, the calm of the face. Then he coats the wax in layer after layer of the finest river clay from the delta, then coarser clay over that, binds the whole thing, dries it, heats it, and the wax runs out. Molten metal goes in where the wax was, copper with tin and lead in it. When it is cool, he breaks the mould.
He has to break it. The mould can never be used again, and neither can the wax, which means every Chola bronze that exists is a single, unrepeatable object, with no siblings anywhere. The method has a Sanskrit name meaning roughly the lost wax way, Madhuchishta Vidana.
and it is still done in this same delta in the town of Swami Malai tonight and today. What comes out of these workshops in this century will be regarded, permanently as far as anyone can tell, as some of the finest metal sculpture ever made. Shiva as the lord of the dance, the goddess with her weight settled and her hip swung, saints and kings and quiet seated teachers. There is one thing left to say plainly, and then we can let it go. When people picture a building like that tower, they picture slaves, a mass of nameless people driven to it. The evidence here says otherwise, and the evidence is unusually good because the temple carved its own staff list into its own base. What it lists is employment. 400 women brought in from temples all over the kingdom to dance, each one named, each recorded with the shrine she transferred from, each given a house in one of those 2 streets and an allowance of paddy, 100 measures a year. The position was hers and heritable, so if she died or moved away, a relative could take it up. 212 other people, singers, drummers, players of stringed instruments, a dance master, accountants, treasurers, tailors, a potter, a man to husk the paddy, men to carry the lamps, all with allowances, all stated in figures. Even the architect has a name, Kunjara Malan Rajaraja Peruntachan, the great builder. The king's own elder sister, Kundavai, is listed among the donors of jewels and images. Whatever else this was, it was accounted for, and the people in the accounts were people. It goes further out than the temple. In a village called Uttaramerur, there is a wall carrying an inscription from 90 years before tonight, in the reign of Rajaraja's grandfather, setting out in plain administrative language how the village elects its committees. A candidate must own a certain amount of tax-paying land with a house on it. He must be between 35 and 70. He must know his texts and be honest. Anyone who has not submitted his accounts is barred, and so are his close relatives. Anyone who has served in the last 3 years must stand down. Maims go on to palm leaf tickets. The tickets go into a pot, and a young child who cannot read draws them out. A real document on a real wall, dated to the years 921 and 922. You can go and look at it. Back in the house, the day is folding itself up. Mats are unrolled on the swept floor of the courtyard and the veranda, because indoors is warmer than out, and out is where the air moves. There are no beds in the sense you are lying on one now. A mat, a thin cotton cloth, a wooden block or a rolled bundle under the head. The rice pot is covered. The grinding stone is set where it will be wanted before dawn, and it will be wanted before dawn, because the day here begins in the dark, and the first sound in this street tomorrow will be stone on stone. A grandmother has a small child leaning against her and telling him something long and circular. He has stopped asking questions, which is generally the sign that a story is working. Step out onto the veranda, into the cooler air. The street is nearly empty. A lamp burns in a niche by a doorway further along, and another beyond that, so the lane is marked out in small, steady points rather than lit. The temple enclosure is a great darkness at the end of it, with the tower standing up out of that darkness, blacker than the sky, its outline stepped like a hill. Somewhere over the wall, someone is still singing, or has only just stopped. Off in the fields, the water lies flat inside the paddy bunds and holds the sky in pieces. There is a smell of jasmine, strong now because that flower opens after dark and does not much care whether anyone is awake. Look up. There is no light in this world to spoil it, and the sky over the delta is packed. The people here have their own map of it, 27 lunar mansions, the nakshatras, through which the moon moves night by night, one for each night of its journey. Everyone in this street was born under one of them and could tell you which. Somewhere behind you, in the sanctum, at the heart of all that stone, stands the dark image of the god. And on the temple's southern wall, facing out, is a figure worth taking to sleep with you. Dakshinamurti, Shiva as the teacher, seated under a tree, young, entirely still, surrounded by old sages, and teaching them nothing at all in words. The tradition is explicit about it. He teaches in silence, and they understand. The other great image of this place is the opposite and the same. Shiva dancing, called here Adavalan, the one who is skilled in the dance, 1 foot lifted, hair flung out, ringed in fire, and in the middle of all that motion a face with no expression of effort on it whatsoever. The whole idea of the thing is that the still center and the turning world are not two different places. That temple is still standing, not as a ruin, as a working temple with lamps lit in it this evening in a town that still grows rice. In 1931, somebody noticed that the later paintings in a dark passage around the sanctum had earlier paintings underneath them, and Chola frescoes from within a generation of tonight came back into the light. On an upper story, carved into the stone, are 81 figures of the classical dance positions left unfinished, a set of 108 that somebody stopped work on and nobody ever resumed. In 1987, it went on to the World Heritage List under a name that gets the important part right, the Great Living Chola Temples. Let it all go soft now. The lamp in the courtyard is down to a bead. The rice is covered. The water in the fields is perfectly still, and the tower is standing in the dark exactly as it will be standing 1,000 years from now, as you, perhaps, are sleeping now. So let go of the last of it, whatever you are still holding. Sleep well, and when you are ready to travel again, Nox Historia will be waiting. Good night.